Hello and welcome. Before we get into today's stories, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Also, let me know in the comments where you're watching from.
911, what's your emergency? I got a guy standing on the side of the road, and he's bleeding really bad, and they said he's bad, and they said somebody killed his son.
It starts like a nightmare you can't unsee. A late-night knock on the door, 2 plainclothesmen, a white Crown Victoria, and a father and son driven away in handcuffs. That knock turns out to be the beginning of one of the cruelest robberies and betrayals you'll hear, a setup so cold it feels planned down to the last detail. By the time the night's over, a 12-year-old boy is dead, and his father is fighting to survive after being left for dead in a shallow grave. Butch Boyer is the kind of man people around Phoenix City, Alabama knew. A single dad who ran a used car lot and did the hard, honest work of keeping his kid fed and in school. He wasn't flashy. His flaw, if you want to call it that, was trusting people he'd hired, guys who sounded useful and who could help on the lot. What's at stake is obvious and terrible. Brett, his 12-year-old son. Everything Butch did that night was for that kid. The inciting incident is eerily mundane at first. It's about 10 p.m, bedtime in a quiet neighborhood, when Butch answers a knock. Men flash fake badges and shove a warrant at him. They say he's under arrest for drugs. They cuff him, go into the house, then come back and cuff Brett too. They drive them out of town, claim there's a safe at Butch's house with $100,000 inside, and demand cash. Butch gives them what he has. Then they lead him and his son into a construction area where a grave has been dug. One man slits Butch's throat. The other shoots Brett 3 times in the head and throws him into the hole. They bury both of them. That's the moment the world breaks. Clues and red herrings piled up around that night. The white Crown Vic, handcuffs and bogus uniforms made the scene look official. A detail that masked the crime as a kind of mock law enforcement. Butch, who somehow clung to life, later described the car and gave a partial license plate and a face to investigators.
Come here. The ambulance is here, sir. Hold on. Right there.
My boys were shot 3 times.
Okay. Hold on, sir. Hold on. All right. Hold on, sir. Hold on. Okay, ambulance is here.
I'll get my boys first.
All right. All right, sir, hold on real quick. What's your name?
Butch.
Butch what?
Boyer.
Spell it.
B-O-Y-E-R. W-Y-E-R.
What's your name, sir? I mean, what's your birthday?
3/2/47.
Okay, he said his son's been shot 3 times down there, been buried. We're gonna have to take him down there.
I've got the ring.
Okay. All right. Okay, what can we do with him?
Where is it?
What? Down here. He's cut bad.
I dug out the grave a while ago.
What? Who shot you? Who did this?
Dennis wrote some right. That grave.
Hey, Lon? No bullshit. I got a man, his throat's been cut to hell. He said his son's been shot 3 times, is buried in a grave down here at Uchi, and he wants to go get him. He was buried and dug himself out. This is a bad one. Okay? I mean, I don't mean to sound excited, but this is bad.
That description led police to a man driving the same Crown Vic, Michael Carruth, a bail bondsman with a seemingly clean record. Inside the car, the cops found uniforms, handcuffs, money and blood. Another thread pointed to a young man who used to work for Butch at the lot, Jimmy Brooks II, who was seen burning clothes the next day. There were also tyre tracks and muddy footprints at some scenes, and an older accomplice who had driven others to nearby break-ins. At first, investigators chased obvious things: an ex who had threatened Katrina Ratliff years earlier, footprints, and the torn-up houses. But those leads didn't fit the new, darker picture that came together after Butch survived. Suspense ratcheted up as the story flipped from who did this to who would do this and why. Butch's survival was the pivot. With his neck slashed and bleeding, he refused treatment until he could tell police where to go. He gave enough: a description of the car, the fact that his house keys had been taken, and the detail that one of the attackers looked familiar. Police surveilled the Boyer house, and soon the white Crown Vic rolled past. They stopped the driver, Michael Carruth, and impounded the car. That put a man with resources and a bondman's knowledge in front of detectives. Meanwhile, Jimmy Brooks was picked up burning clothes. He cracked and began to talk.
And what we're going to do is we're simply going to kind of walk back through the events.
I want to start very beginning.
Day 1.
I'm gonna be straight up.
You gonna do what now?
I'm gonna take it from the very beginning to all the way to the last time. He got me out. I know my family had no money to get me out. For some reason, he got me out.
Alright, and when you say he,
Mike Caruth got me out of jail.
Mike Caruth is a bail bondsman.
Right.
He comes to you, tells you gotta pay him, or he's gonna lock you up.
Right.
And you say, okay, I'm doing the best I can.
Exactly.
And then he says, well, he's gonna think of something for you to make money, and he'll come get you, tell you what it is. If you like it, y'all can do it.
Right.
Okay.
Do it, motherfucker. Do it.
So you popped her where?
I popped her.
You shot her in the head. Back of the head, front of the head. That's okay. You're getting it off your chest.
It was the brain implants. The little small hydrogen implants about like this. And they're charging like $5,000 a pound for this shit, really, what they're telling me.
What had started as a home invasion for cash plot to get a short-term windfall was not a random spree. It was organised theft aimed at funding a larger scheme. Then the twist. The motive wasn't simply greed for quick cash to blow. Jimmy confessed that he and Caruth had a plan. They were robbing people they believed had hidden cash so they could finance an underground hydroponic marijuana operation. Caruth, the bail bondsman who'd bailed Jimmy out months earlier, used that leverage to recruit him and others. Jimmy admitted Caruth slit Butcher's throat and that he himself shot Brett. He also implicated Caruth and 2 others in a separate residence invasion that ended in murder.
Worried about y'all. I haven't heard from you at all. Please call me when you get in. Talk to you later. Bye.
The Ratliff killings in Opelika, where Thurman and Catherine Ratliff were found shot and tortured. That horrified investigators. The same group tied to the Boyer ambush had a history of torturing and searching homes, as if following a shopping list of targets. The climax was swift and brutal in court. Evidence from the car, Jimmy's confession, the burned clothing, and Butcher's testimony closed the loop. Caruth was arrested and tried. At trial, the jury heard how the men had ripped through homes looking for money and when confronted used violence without hesitation. The Boyer case, a father nearly murdered, a child killed, and the linked Ratliff home invasion became the main pillars of the prosecution. Caruth was convicted of capital murder, attempted murder, kidnapping and robbery for the Boyer case. Jimmy Brooks was convicted as well. During sentencing, the court also acknowledged the Ratliff murders as part of the pattern of violence tied back to Caruth and his associates, though the main narrative remained the Boyer tragedy. The resolution is ugly but clear. Butch survived, scarred and forever changed. Brett did not.
Shot you. Who did this?
My repo man's son,
Sir, who did this?
Jim,
Jim who?
I think of him in a minute. Jim Brooks.
Brooks?
It's not Jim, it's not a dad, it's a son.
Michael Caruth and Jimmy Brooks were both sentenced to death, and another accomplice who'd driven them and participated in the Ratliff break-in, James Gary, received life without parole. The money they'd grabbed wasn't for toys or trips. It was to bankroll a hydroponic grow that, in their minds, justified the brutality. Instead, the string of invasions and the one boy's life ended any illusion that these were petty robberies. What started as a plan to steal cash ended with 2 men on death row and 1 community left to bury a child. It's the kind of case that keeps you up because it's so simple and so monstrous at once. A bail bondsman using his power, a small-time criminal who thought he could trade loyalty for freedom, and ordinary homes turned inside out. Butcher's survival is the last thing that stopped them from doing more. Without him, who knows how many names on that list might have been next. It started with a gunshot in a quiet Dallas parking garage. September 2nd, 2015, a young dentist named Kendra Hatcher had just pulled into her upscale apartment building after a normal day at work. Before she could even step out of her car, someone shot her in the back of the head. The killer fled, leaving nothing but a blurry image of a Jeep Cherokee on a security camera. At first, no one had any idea why someone like Kendra, kind, smart, successful, would be targeted. But the deeper detectives dug, the clearer it became that this wasn't random at all. This was about jealousy, obsession, and revenge. Brenda Delgado grew up in southeast Dallas in a lower-income neighborhood. She was the second of 5 kids, smart, hard-working, and determined to make something of herself. She graduated high school in 2000 and dreamed of becoming a physician, but money stood in her way. So, she worked whatever job she could, at a dentist's office, a day spa, a florist. She was attractive and careful with her choices in men. When she dated, she played it safe. No flirting too much, no drinking too much. She liked going out to nicer parts of town, dressing well, being around successful people. She wanted that life. Then, in 2012, she met Ricky Paniagua, a dentist who was 6 years older. He had just finalized a divorce and was described as quiet and good-looking. The two hit it off fast. Within 3 months, Brenda moved into his apartment in a wealthy part of Dallas. She fell for him hard, dreamed of marriage, family, stability. For a while, things were good. Then, she got pregnant and had an abortion. No one knows whose idea that was, but after that, things felt off. By 2013, Brenda enrolled in dental hygiene school. During introductions, while other students talked about their families, Brenda mostly talked about Ricky. By early 2014, he'd given her a promise ring, a we'll get married someday kind of thing. But by July, he broke up with her, and Brenda didn't take it well. After the breakup, Brenda spiraled. Her grades dropped, she withdrew from school for a few weeks, and her mood became unpredictable. Ricky, meanwhile, was moving on. He joined a dance class, and guess who showed up there? Brenda. At first, he thought it was just coincidence. They ended up dancing together again, laughing, reconnecting, and before long they were back together. Still, things weren't the same. Brenda rented her own small apartment nearby, and although Ricky helped her with some bills and their cell phone plan, he didn't ask her to move back in. Then, in early 2015, he broke up with her again, this time for good. He wanted to stay friends, and Brenda agreed, but friends wasn't what she had in mind. Ricky started dating again. Brenda always seemed to bump into him, on trails, in restaurants, even when he was out with his new girlfriend. He assumed it was all coincidence. It wasn't. Brenda still had his passwords, a key to his apartment, and access to his phone tracker. She was watching everything, reading his emails, following his dates, quietly taking notes. That spring, she found out about someone new, Kendra Hatcher, a 35-year-old pediatric dentist who had just moved to Dallas after a divorce. Kendra was successful, confident, and beautiful. Everything Brenda wanted to be. Ricky and Kendra's relationship took off fast. They posted vacation photos, smiling, hugging, talking about marriage. Brenda saw every post, every picture, and it ate at her. Why was Ricky taking Kendra to places he'd never taken her? Why did Kendra get the life Brenda thought she earned? Brenda couldn't let it go. On one date with a man named Roberto, she drove by Kendra's apartment building and just stared. Another time, she asked someone if they knew anyone who could hurt somebody. They told her to drop it. But she didn't. She even offered her cousin money to threaten Kendra with a bat. He refused. Soon, Brenda started involving more people. Her roommate, Jennifer Escobar, said Brenda offered her drugs or a car if she'd help get revenge on Ricky and Kendra, talking about comas, baseball bats, even hypodermic needles. Jennifer moved out, but her friend Crystal Cortez stayed in touch. Brenda told Crystal how badly she'd been hurt and offered her $500 to help with a plan. Crystal agreed. The two started asking around Crystal's neighborhood if anyone wanted to make quick money by killing someone. Eventually they met Christopher Love, a small-time criminal who was more than willing. Brenda told him she had connections to a drug cartel and offered $3,000 to join in. Christopher said yes and brought his own gun. By August 2015, Brenda had finished dental hygiene school. Ricky even texted her congratulations and mentioned that by the end of the month, she'd be off his phone plan. He was moving to California. Brenda assumed Kendra was going with him, and she couldn't stand it. They had a trip planned to Cancun on September 3rd. Brenda decided Kendra wouldn't make it that far. On September 2nd, Brenda spent the afternoon with a friend at the library studying, creating an alibi. Later, she went to a Chili's restaurant for dinner. Meanwhile, Crystal borrowed a Jeep Cherokee from Brenda's friend Jose, picked up Christopher, and drove to Kendra's office. They tried following her home but lost her, so they waited at her apartment complex. When Kendra finally arrived, she parked her car, stepped out, and Christopher shot her once in the back of the head. They stole her purse and drove off. The police quickly found blurry footage of the Jeep. When they released it, Jose recognized it right away. Brenda told him to repaint it and keep quiet. Instead, he went to the police.
Shot in the parking lot of the Gables Park 17 in the P1.
They got cameras that come in and out of this place?
Yeah, they're checking on it right now.
Okay, did you see someone that was shot?
Yeah, no, all I heard was screaming and then a loud pop, and then I saw her laying on the floor, and it was like red, like blood coming out of her neck. And her phone's on the floor, her car door is open. I don't know what happened.
She has a police badge on her sun visor.
Watch where you step. Step back over there for me, okay? Just to let you know, there's one homicide detective for the entire city tonight. He knows about this.
Soon after, Crystal was brought in. At first she lied, said a stranger forced her to drive him to rob someone. Then she cracked and admitted Brenda paid her and a man for the job, claiming she didn't know it was a murder. When detectives questioned Brenda, she denied everything.
The young lady was killed on Wednesday, and I'm the guy that's assigned to the case. Your name came up in the investigation, so I wanted to sit down and talk with you.
Yeah.
Kind of
How did my name come up? I don't.
Okay, yeah. I'll explain all of that to you.
Yes, I want to know. I want to cooperate. I want to know what's going on, and I want you to.
Okay. Well, I would be 100% honest with you.
Yes.
That's what you can count on from me.
And I will be too.
The young lady that got killed. Never seen her before.
I've never seen her.
Okay. You know, she was a dentist.
Mm-hmm. I don't have no idea who she is, who she's dating, the name. I have no idea. He just kind of said, hey, I'm seeing someone.
All right. You said you had the receipt in your bag.
Yeah. I can show you.
Yeah. Let's get that.
Yeah, of course. I bet I can give you other numbers I can. We closed out at 8. Actually, it was later. 8:57.
Okay, close out at 8:57.
They didn't have enough to charge her yet. But when Christopher was arrested with the gun in his car, the pieces started fitting together. Before police could reach Brenda again, she had already fled to Mexico. Brenda had dual US-Mexican citizenship, and it took 6 months before she was found. Mexico agreed to extradite her only if prosecutors took the death penalty off the table. They did. Crystal made a deal. 35 years in prison for her testimony. Christopher Love got the death penalty, and Brenda Delgado was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole.
Brenda Delgado, please stand. The jury, having found you guilty of capital murder, it is therefore the order, judgment, and decree of this court that you be taken by the Sheriff of Dallas County and by her safely held for transfer to an authorized receiving agency where you shall be and transferred to the Institutional Division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, wherein you shall be confined for the rest of your natural life. Good luck to you, ma'am. Please proceed.
That's how a promising dental student, someone described as kind, educated, and friendly, turned into a mastermind behind a murder-for-hire plot fueled by jealousy and entitlement. In her mind, if she couldn't have the life she wanted, no one else deserved it either. 40 miles north of Detroit, in sleepy Oxford Township, something that felt impossible for a place like that happened. An active shooter at Oxford High. Phones lit up, kids ran screaming, and by the end of a single school lunch period, 4 students were dead and 7 more badly hurt.
My name is Ethan Crumbley, aged 15, and I'm going to be an next school shooter. I thought about this a lot. I can't stop thinking about it. It's constantly in my head. Every conversation I have with someone. No matter what, I'm thinking about it and I can't get it out. It's currently November 29th, 2021, 10:05 p.m. The school I'm shooting up is Oxford High School. I'm in 10th grade there. I've always been fascinated by guns when I was a kid. I always wanted to join the forces and SWAT when I was in 3rd grade. Navy SEALs when I was in 4th. Marines, 5th or 7th. Army, Rangers. And I never thought of a career. I never had motivation. I kept lying to myself that.
The town that hosts scarecrow contests and weekend football games found itself on every news feed, and the person who did it was a 15-year-old sophomore named Ethan Crumbly. Ethan Crumbly was described as quiet, reclusive, and increasingly strange. He moved a lot as a kid. Born in Florida, lived in Washington, then settled in Oxford, and never seemed to anchor with friends. Parents James and Jennifer worked and drank. Neighbours said Ethan was often left to fend for himself, sometimes overnight without a phone. He loved violent movies and first-person shooter games from a young age, kept to himself, and generated a pattern of worrying behaviour. Isolation, declining grades, dark texts to a close friend, and disturbing drawings. Those details set the scene. A lonely, deeply unhappy teenager with clear warning signs and parents who didn't intervene. The immediate lead-up was painfully clear. In late November 2021, teachers discovered Ethan's notebook drawings. A gun aimed at words like, "The thoughts won't stop," scribbles of blood everywhere, and the crossed-out phrase, "Help me." School officials called his parents and urged counselling within 48 hours. Instead of taking him home or removing him from school, his parents did not follow through. Worse, 2 days earlier, Ethan had been given the handgun he'd asked for. Jennifer and Ethan had gone to a local shooting range for his birthday, put more than 100 rounds through a 9mm pistol, and then brought the gun home. There was no safe to store it in. Those two facts, the drawings and the firearm, are the ignition point for what came next. Pieces of Ethan's life pointed to escalating danger, and some details that seemed like attention-seeking only in hindsight were ominous clues. He confessed in text to killing and torturing baby birds, even keeping a bird's head in a jar and later bringing it to school and leaving it in a bathroom, an act that traumatized students. He told a friend increasingly violent fantasies and wrote journal pages with checklists for the day of the attack. He texted his mother about the house being haunted, complaining the strange events happened only when he was alone, which could be seen as cries for attention. At the same time, some reactions, jokes between teenagers, or the theory that his messages were edgy, teen posturing, acted as red herrings that distracted adults from the real risk. Suspense builds because Ethan wasn't impulsive in the moment, he planned. Police found a 22-page journal in his abandoned backpack with a checklist for the shooting day, notes about surrendering to police, and passages like, "I wonder what life in prison will be like." He recorded a voice memo the night before, saying he couldn't stop thinking about shooting the school and outlining how he intended to walk into the hallway and fire.
The bell rings to end 5th hour. Tomorrow, October 30th, November 30th, 2021, going to walk to the dividend between the boys and the girls' bathroom. I will have my black jacket on, and I will walk behind someone, and I will shoot a bullet in their skull. And that's my first victim. I'm going to open fire on everyone in that hallway. The hallways are too jam-packed. I will try and hit as many people as I can. I will reload, and I will find people hiding. I'm going to teach them a lesson. I understand that I'm going to prison for this. Michigan doesn't have a death penalty. I don't want to die. As funny as it may seem, I don't want to kill other people. I do not want to die. I realize how valuable life is. And I realize I broke the code of what's happening. I broke the code. I realize what is actually happening. And these people, they don't have the capabilities of understanding it. I'm someone to teach the entire nation and the world of what's happening and how we're on the brink of downfall.
School officials had been warned, his parents had been contacted, and yet the gun was at home and then on his person the day of. On November 30th, 2021, around lunchtime, surveillance captured Ethan walking into a bathroom with a backpack. 1 minute later, he walked out armed and began firing down the hallway. The real gutting twist to this whole story isn't a plot reveal so much as the realization that multiple adult systems failed at once. Teachers raised alarms. The school demanded counselling, or CPS would be called if the parents didn't act. Neighbours were aware the boy was often unattended, and yet the parents brushed it off and bought him the gun he asked for. The twist reframes the crime from a lone actor tragedy into a preventable catastrophe driven by parental neglect, missed interventions, and willful inaction. That truth shaped the criminal cases that followed, not only Ethan's, but his parents' legal exposure for manslaughter. The shooting itself unfolded in roughly 5 minutes. Ethan moved through halls and bathrooms, firing at students and through doors. Staff and students activated Alice drills: alert, lockdown, inform, counter, evacuate, which saved many lives but not all. 4 students were killed: Madison Baldwin, 17, Tate Meyer, 16, Hannah, often listed as Hannah or Juliana depending on reports, and Justin Schilling, 17, who later died at a hospital. 7 more were injured. Officers arrived quickly. After a short pursuit through the school, Ethan surrendered. He still had a loaded 9mm, 2 magazines, and dozens of rounds. The physical carnage and the short timeline make the climax brutally stark. A handful of minutes that irrevocably changed several families and the whole community. What followed was legal reckoning and community grief. Investigators used the journal, recordings, school footage, and physical evidence to build a case. Ethan ultimately pleaded guilty to all charges, 24 counts including first-degree murder and terrorism, and withdrew an insanity defense, opting to serve life in prison.
Thank you. May proceed.
I'd like to thank you for letting me speak, Your Honor. We are all here because of me today. What I did. My actions were because of what I chose to do. I could not stop myself, but I am the one who led to why we are here today. I do not diminish any ability to anyone who could have stopped me, of anyone of a school or parents. They did not know, and I did not tell them what I planned to do, so they are not at fault.
Public outrage extended to his parents. They faced involuntary manslaughter charges for negligently providing access to the gun and ignoring warning signs. Jennifer and James Crumley briefly fled, were captured, and later pleaded not guilty. Their legal battles and appeals continued amid widespread condemnation. The sentencing occurred on April 9th, 2024. James Crumley and Jennifer Crumley were each sentenced to 10 to 15 years in prison, with eligibility for parole after 10 years. The families of the victims, students remembered for courage, kindness, humour and selflessness, became the centre of memorials, testimony, and a renewed discussion about how schools, communities and parents should respond to clear danger signs.